This hardcore Minecraft world already has some of my best builds ever, as I'm absolutely falling in love with my starter region. But there's just one thing. I settled here because of this valley, as I always imagined putting a giant castle on top of the mountain to connect the valley from above. So today I'm starting my biggest project yet to provide me with the view I always imagined, by creating my very own mega castle. This is a project that has taken me many months to plan out, so consider liking and subscribing to help me reach my goal of 50,000 subscribers. And there will be a world download, so if you become a tier 2 member on Patreon or YouTube, you can download the world for yourself. With me building an entire castle today, it means I have a lot to do. And I have a lot of materials to collect, which is exactly why I'm going to start gathering materials to make an XP farm. I don't need too many blocks for this, but I do need a couple water buckets, a couple chests. I also need to make a hopper, and finally I just need a few signs, a wall, and a slab. And I have one piece of soul sand. That is perfect. Now the only thing I need to make this XP farm is some kelp, so I'm gonna have to go to the ocean. So I'm gonna grab my horse that I haven't named yet, and gonna go on a little adventure. Now I am here by the ocean, and I just have to gather up like half a stack of kelp, not too much. Got about a stack of kelp. Now it's time to head over to the zombie spawner. Well, I'm back by the spawner, and I found a villager cave. This could be useful if I ever need to get villagers, because they're all just trapped already. Okay. Going into the zombie spawner under the village, I cleared out enough space to make a 5x5 room, then filled it up with water to get all of the zombies flowing down into one space. And I also made a little friend. I really don't know what to do about this dog. I really don't. But I have this room now filled up with water. I want to save him, I think, but he's a little trapped. Okay. I trapped the dog behind a wall of cobblestone to put him in a safe spot, then started making a tower to get the zombies flowing upwards, so that when they do fall down into the killing chamber, they do not die, but instead take a ton of fall damage, so they would just be one hit away from dying, which speeds up the rate of the farm. Okay, so I think the farm is... Oh my god. No! Well, the farm's working, guys. It's working pretty good. Now, something else I did want to do in this episode is get a mending book, as I'm going to need to mine up a ton of blocks, and well, I don't really want to continue wasting diamonds repairing my tools. Instead of getting super overpowered early on, what I want to do instead is actually just trade a mending book with a normal villager that is not cured, so it's not a super cheap mending trade. I think this will kind of balance out the early game Minecraft stage. So I do have a single lectern, but I only have 3 emeralds, so I think I'm gonna have to trade with one of those villagers that trades sticks and then get a ton of emeralds. And luckily I have a ton of sticks on me and a ton of wood. I'm estimating about 26 to 28 emeralds is what I'm gonna need. So let me trade with a Fletcher villager and then try to get a mending book. Like, I don't think there's any more villagers actually in the village, so I'm gonna have to trade with them down here. But that's fine, as I should be able to get most of the emeralds that I need very quickly. From a single day of trading, I have 19 emeralds now, which is pretty amazing. And now what I'm gonna do is try to get a mending book or a mending villager locked in. And the stick trade's already reset, so I can just get the rest of the emeralds that I need incredibly fast. So after just a single day of trading, I have 37 emeralds, which is definitely enough to get a mending book. I mean, this is incredibly quick. A 13 mending trade. Oh my god, I can get 3 mending books. I just need to get more books. So with the 1 mending book, I'm actually gonna head back home and then get a couple more. Back by the mending villagers, I've also given them a lovely home underneath the tree. It looks so good in here. This guy's trade is actually reset already. That gives me 26 emeralds, which is enough to get 2 more mending books. So overall, a very, very successful adventure, and honestly, this is a very cheap mending trade. While I'm over here though, I can add mending to this pickaxe. It costs 5 levels, and that is a full pickaxe. That is so many particles, oh my god. I can also add mending to the shovel, and I might as well add mending to my diamond axe. And now what I could do is go over to the zombie farm right here, and I can just mend up my pickaxes, my shovel, my axe, and just get prepared for this episode. I knew for this insane project today, I would need full durability on all of my tools, so I started to mend them up to get myself ready. Okay, I've pretty much mended up all my tools, but something is blocking this thing from working. It's a chicken jockey, dude. We got a chicken jockey blocking the thing from working. I don't want to kill the cold chicken. I need it. I killed him. Oh, a music just dropped because I killed the chicken jockey. I didn't even know that was a feature. Hold on. I got the chicken jockey music disc from this. And I got a cold chicken. Come on out of here, come on. Now I got a nice little cold chicken in here, which I honestly do need to get one of these guys back home. And I got all of my tools mended up. Now what I could do, because I have so much string on me, is make a lead. And I wanna get this guy back home, for sure. Man, this episode is going so well right now. Minus the thing that happened with the dog, okay? But we don't talk about that. So technically this guy is a hostile mob, so he is capable of despawning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give him a name so he doesn't disappear. I think my name tags are right here, perfect. And I'm just gonna have to name him Chicken Jockey, and he shouldn't despawn. Definitely looks a little bit weird, but we should collect some eggs from both of these guys. Now I can get started on today's project, but of course there's just one thing that I have to do. Okay, that's enough for me. Today's project has me building an entire mega castle, which means I'm preparing myself to spend the next couple days IRL to gather up all of the materials necessary to complete the project. Initially, I wasn't sure what block to use, but I landed on diorite, as it's not really a block I've used on a large scale in this game before. And I quickly learned that white is honestly a pretty tough block to work with, especially in the early game stage, but finding diorite in the caves was honestly the easy part. With that being said though, I needed an insane amount of this stuff, so much that it almost jumped stone as my most gathered block in the world. So as you could imagine, I have a lot of footage of me gathering up diorite. Getting a break from diorite mining, I hit the ocean and took a visit over to the desert to collect sand that I needed for concrete powder. And while I was in the desert already, I collected fire coral from the reef that was nearby, as fire coral is a great block to blend in with the lighter gray tones I was going to use for shadows. Jumping over to land once again, I began collecting flowers that I wanted to use for both decoration and the light gray concrete powder. Then I went back into the caves to get tuff, which was the second most needed material. So again, I spent many hours gathering this lovely block, while also making sure to get some other necessary blocks like deep slate and andesite while I was down there. Of course, gathering up a little bit of pale moss to blend in with the tuff, and going to the nether to collect a tiny bit of basalt, and then finally I needed a lighter block than diorite to use as a bit of texture on the castle and a bit of a highlight, so I started chopping down some pale oak trees to gather up some pale oak and strip some of it down. Which brings me back to over here, where I have an absolutely ton of materials, and I have a ton of smooth stone smelted up, but I mean there's just so much stuff in here. I spent the last 30 days in game gathering materials, and I also changed my skin. I changed my skin. I'll change it back. You just gotta, I'll change it back, okay? Don't worry about it. With all of the materials gathered, it's time to start building the castle, which actually starts with me wanting to connect the two mountains with a single long bridge to actually give people a way up to where the castle will be. So I started building up the bridge with 4 very tall pillars stretching across the valley. Then I connected the top of them to complete the many arches of the bridge and give people a way of walking across. Now, on top of the bridge, it is completely finished. I think it's looking pretty good. A little bit simple, but I don't want it to take away from the castle. I am back home though, and I want to start gathering a few materials as I want to decorate the top of the bridge. I'm gonna need a little bit of bamboo, a little bit of acacia, which I almost never use, but I'm gonna use it for this build. I have some oak trapdoors in here. I need to make a few campfires and a few flower pots and a few decorated pots. Now, the last thing I need to decorate the top of the bridge is I need a few banners, so I'm gonna have to dye some of these sheep. I need a few red sheep, and I also need a few light gray sheep. So I need a single white banner, I need 2 light gray banners, and I need 3 red banners. Somebody on one of my live streams gave me the idea of covering the top of the bridge with mini carts and shops, and I thought this was a great idea. Back up on top of the bridge, I want to first start by making a little painting shop, and for this I want to get some of these 1x1 paintings like that, making sure that they're all different. And then what I can do down here is I kind of want to make a double painting right here, and then a single painting right here, and perfect. And there's like a little painting shop. For this next shop, I want it to be right here, and I want to use some oak trapdoors and some spruce trapdoors on top of it like that, and I'm going to make a small cart right here, but what I can do is put a barrel right here, and if I get into my bundle and grab some tripwire hooks, I can make it look like they're selling some wine. And on top of this, I want to grab some of my acacia wood. And if I go up here and place a couple spruce fences, I can attach fence gates to both sides of them. And on top of that, I can add some acacia trapdoors with a slab going across just like this. And it looks like a nice cart could have gotten pushed right here, and they're just selling some wine. Right here, I'm going to make a small storage thing for some potatoes, but I don't have any potatoes on me, so right now I'm just going to extinguish those, but you can put some potatoes on there to look like they're selling something, but for now, it's just going to be empty. I added this other wine tasting thing right here with a couple cups, but I wanted to use dripstone in here, but I honestly forgot it. So for now, it's just going to be that. It's just going to be some nice orange wine, I guess. Now right here, I want to make a small plant shop. So if I go up with a few trapdoors on either side and close all of them, I can lay some trapdoors underneath right here, and then go up here with even more spruce trapdoors. I want to first put a composter right here with a couple decorated pots, and I think another one right there. I can put a couple flower pots right here. And then since I have them on me, I can put some glowberries, and it looks like there's a little plant shop right here with some decorated pots. I think it's looking pretty cozy. So now leading up to the entrance of where the castle will be, you have a paint shop. I also added in this little bookshop, of course, some wine selling. Oops. Got some more wine, got this little plant shop right here, and I even made this one another traveling wagon for some like clothing, maybe some rugs. I'm not exactly sure what this will actually end up being. And I can honestly add more of these up here. I just didn't want to make this area super crowded, as people do still need to get up or out of the castle. With that being said, though, I can begin the next part of the castle, which will be there will be a tower right here that will kind of curve this way, where the main entrance will be somewhere around where that tree is. Before I could get started on any building, I have to do a lot of terraforming. So to get started, I removed all of the powdered snow from on top of the mountain just using a single water bucket, and spending about an hour tearing down some of the landscape to give me room to build the castle. I didn't care too much about removing the entire top of the mountain, as I wasn't building the interior today, so that's going to be a problem for a later episode. Right now I want to build the entrance of the castle, which starts with this wall that sort of outlines the side of the mountain, and I wanted to have a long staircase going up to make the place feel a little bit more grand and still have it follow the natural shape of the mountain. So I continued building up more of the walls and created this watchtower on the left side of the bridge that greets you right as you cross over into the castle. I now have this tower built up, but if you go up these stairs, I've also created kind of this little garden area, and right now I want to use this space to create a fountain and a statue. Back home now, I want to make a single lightning rod. I also need a little bit of glass. But for this glass, I also need some blue dye and some gray dye, which is going to require me to take a little trip to get some cornflowers and some ink sacs to make gray dye. I got all of the black dye I need, but I also want to pick all of the dandelions that I can, as I want to sprinkle a lot of yellow flowers within the castle walls. I also would like to get some wildflowers as well, which conveniently grows right next to where the dandelions are. I'm doing something a little crazy here. I'm making a red harness. There he is, going up the mountain. There's my little meatball. Oh my god. This guy's a little goofy, man. He's a little slow, too. It's kind of cool, I guess. I'm flying through the mountains. The view is cool up here. All right, I made it. I made it. He's smiling. He's a happy little guy, and he's running away. Now, for the statue, I want to start off with some chisel tuff. And I want to go up with a few blocks of diorite with a polished diorite up here, which will kind of be the head of the statue. And I can create some arms using some walls, and then if I put some pale oak fences underneath, it'll look like he's holding a sword. So that kind of looks like he's holding a sword. It's a little bit weird looking, but I think it works. As a matter of fact, I flipped it around. I think that looks more like a sword. But to make it less weird here on the edges, I can put a few pieces of glass, and I think that just blends everything in together a little bit more. And then this guy has some long hair, so I'm gonna place some pale oak trapdoors just like that, and I can place another one here on the top. I've created a water fountain here along the side of where the wall is, and this looks a little bit weird, but I can use some stained glass to connect those. And then I can go into some blue stained glass, one up here to make it look like there's water up there, and then if I put blue stained glass going around all of the edges, it looks like there's water kind of flowing down, especially if you look at it from this angle, it kind of shoots out. So now with the entire area filled up with water, looking at it from this angle, it looks amazing. There's a fountain here that looks like it's kind of leaking and going around the statue. And this is something that a lot of you guys came up with on stream, so thank you guys so much. I think this looks so cool with the perspective there with the water going down. Going around the back, you guys came up with the name King Jacob, 5th of his name, and he was born 1434 before Pink Sheep. Yep. Anyways, I feel like I've wasted a lot of time on here, but I think it's looking decent so far. And now I'm getting ready to begin working on the castle once again. Back over by the guard tower, I had the idea of putting another smaller, skinnier, but taller tower right next to it to give the castle a more interesting shape. Up here at the top, I want to create a flag design, and I want to use bamboo because just like what I did in the garden, I want to add a lot of yellow and green vibes within the build. So if I place some temporary blocks, I can place some bamboo going down like that, and a couple trapdoors like that just to give it a little bit more movement. And then what I want to do to make it look a little bit green here on the top is add some moss carpets. I have this mod that kind of gives it a little overhang, and it creates a pretty cool flag design up here, and especially from a distance, I think it'll look pretty cool. Coming through here along the bridge, I think that's looking really, really good. It gives the flag a little bit of movement here, and the green is definitely noticeable even from a distance. It doesn't add a ton, but I think it looks pretty cool with that pop of color up there. To complete the tower, I put in some windows using spruce fences and campfires, and then I started building up the walls that outline the garden that also went pretty high up to where the main castle courtyard and entrance is. Again, building up another tower, this one attached to the castle wall, giving it an interesting shape there at the top, then building up the actual entrance area, which is that nice connected tower shape you commonly see at the front of a castle, and then continuing the wall slightly to the right, where the castle will eventually be expanded. So I've completed a lot of the front of the castle, but I got really inspired by something I saw both Germsy Boy and Flip do in their mega cities, which was that cool looking floor pattern where I had the idea of creating a flower as the sigil of my castle. So definitely let me know if this gives off the flowery vibe I was going for. I think it looks kind of good. But I also wanted to add some decorated pots that go around here. Sadly, I don't have any clay on me, so I'm gonna have to take a trip over back towards where the ocean is. Oh, I forgot to turn Voxy on. There we go. Well, this is just a nice little adventure, isn't it? Nice little adventure. Now it's just time for the long flight back home, but from a distance, this, especially with the bridge, is already looking absolutely perfect. I love the way this looks in the distance. Back up here at the castle, I wanted to put some decorated pots on either side of where the window is, and I want to put some bushes kind of in between there. And I guess I can probably change this one into a moss block and add another bush right there. And then I want to do the same thing along this window as well, and continue the bushes going around, with probably another decorated pot right here and a bush. I also wanted to put a couple benches like this with some spruce signs on the side of them to make it look more like a chair. And I was thinking I could probably fit just a couple more decorated pots behind here and a couple more bushes. Added in a ton of leaf litter in here, which is quickly turning into one of my favorite things to add in a certain area. And I also added in this tree right here, and I think that is looking pretty good. Now I did also craft a few banners, and don't remember where I put them. Perfect, right here. I got some yellow and green banners, and again I want to continue that yellow and green vibe throughout the castle. And what I was thinking is I could put some flags along both sides of the door right here. So I can alternate between green and yellow just like that for now until I get an actual banner design, or maybe even a data pack that adds own custom banners, because I think that'd be pretty cool. On the topic of adding in some smaller details, I want to add in a gate looking thing right here as if it's kind of halfway open, and I want to use some spruce trapdoors there along the bottom. Just a very simple castle gate design. Don't mind the interior of the castle just yet. That'll be a different episode. Definitely a problem for me in maybe a few months. Instead of worrying about the interior, I have another tower to make. Up here at the top, I'm using some gray stained glass panes to round it out a little bit and get a little bit of extra shape here, as it blends in a lot with the cobbled deep slate from a distance. And yeah, it's snowing again. The entire castle is going to be covered in snow. I didn't really think about this. I didn't really think about it. Hopefully it looks cool up here. Definitely gonna have to brainstorm ways to get rid of all the snow. Probably a bunch of string is my guess. I didn't really think about the snow being an issue when I was planning the castle, but right now my focus is on continuing the entrance of the castle and starting this kind of council chamber area with a big balcony and some pretty tall windows, and then further expanding the castle walls up to where the roof will end up going with this big window design that I put towards the top. And now I'm on to the right side of the build, where I'm extending the foundation up a little bit more and creating these extensions of the castle where maybe some guards can defend the castle. Working up the right side of the castle, I have a area similar to what is down here, but I want to add in a small garden right here as well, which will require me to get some more moss blocks as I have ran out. I got the moss kind of going down, and I want to sprinkle in a little bit of pale moss and tough as well, similar to what I did on the balcony underneath there. And I can kind of just add in little blotches of both of them to mix it in a little bit more. With that put in though, I want to put a couple benches, one right here, just 2 blocks wide, another one just ahead of that one, like that. As this castle is not really used to defend much, as I'm thinking this realm is probably at like a peaceful time right now, so they don't have to worry too much about defending the castle walls. For now. No, I don't know. I was thinking around here on the edge, I'll put in a tiny bush right here. That'll just use some birch and azalea leaves like that. And then I'll just go ahead and put one right here as well. That'll be along this wall. In theory, these parts of the castle would definitely be used to defend, but for now, I'm keeping them as garden areas, and maybe these will be changed in the future. Right over here though, I'm going to add a tower that's going to have a spiraling staircase that'll be the way to get up to this main part of the tower area where I'm going to have a council chamber for the king, which is me. Anyone who must say I am the king is no true king, am I right? But right now I'm creating a spiral staircase to get yourself up from the lower level of the castle to the kind of mid and top section of the castle, as I didn't have a ton of room in the interior to actually build a massive staircase. So this is going to be the main way for people to get up and down. With the bigger tower built up, I'm also going to add in a smaller tower here, which is just 1 block wide. It's not functional, but I think it'll look pretty cool up here. Up here at the top though, I was thinking I can add in a smaller roof design using some deep slate tiles that go into some deep slate bricks that will go into some cobbled deep slate walls, just like that. And then to round out the shape even more, I can add some glass along these sides like that, and then some more glass up here with a chain right here. And to make it extend a little bit higher, I can add another gray stained glass pane, which will just add a tiny bit more length looking at it from a distance. Plowing on ahead to the next part of the castle, I wanted to extend the wall along the right side even more to complete the main building. So I started on some of the roof, then went around to the other side to extend the walls vertically even more, and finally got to completing the roof, where I wanted to go for a taller and more grand design. And there was an attempt on the king's life with a castle siege, because the Dark Lords of the world do not want me to be happy. Honestly, can't believe that happened. They hit the second tower. Anyways, this happened just now. Devastating. A cannonball attack. The first creeper absolutely scared me. The second one was just unnecessary. Oh my god. So I've pretty much built up the entire main part of the castle right here. It's not mob safe, obviously. I've actually rebuilt most of the tower here, but I am going to need to do a little bit of work in here. And obviously I'm going to need some torches or lanterns or something to put everywhere, I think. Speaking of towers, I completely forgot to make this tower right here. I was a little bit distracted. But now there is this tower right here. You can walk along this area, and then it's kind of just this lookout tower right here. Maybe just a nice low-hanging spot. But it's time to get back to the task at hand, which is lighting this area up. It definitely needs to be lit up a little bit. But I'm gonna go down this once again, because I'm gonna need to get rid of some mobs and light up down here. Oh my god, dude. Oh my god. This is insane. I've created an actual mob spawner. Okay, well, I'm glad I got that cleared up. I'm also going to start spamming some torches around to get rid of the snow. I know it's going to look terrible, but it looks better than having snow everywhere. So, you know what? It's totally okay. So far, I think the castle is looking really good, but there is just one area of the castle on the left side that is a sore thumb. It looks pretty bad. So right now my plan is to create a more circular shaped building that will have more of a church-like feel to it, a bit more gothic and grand, as I want this area of the castle to be centered around faith. Initially, I wanted to make this building a membership hall, which I still might do, but for now, I kind of have the idea of creating a very simple religion of the world, and maybe making this a place for worship and prayer, but based on Minecraft, not anything in the real world. Going up here now, I have the idea of putting in a stained glass circle window just right here. You see, I've started it a little bit. Up here in the middle though, I want to create a tiny circle, so I'm going to use a light gray glass pane, and I'm going to place some walls around it, and that'll create a nice circle effect. And then what I was thinking is adding a wall right there, and then another couple full blocks with some fence gates kind of going into it. Up here at the top though, I can round it out once again using a stair, and I can do the same thing on the other side with another wall and another full block just like that. And now we have the shape of a circle. Up here at the top, I want to give it that like gothic church effect, going up every 2 blocks and creating this kind of taller sloped roof here. And then I can go up with a little bit more of the polished diorite slabs and then top it all off again with another slab. And now I think that's looking pretty good. I have the idea of actually adding in some green and yellow stained glass panes to give it some color. Good news is I have a ton of dandelions and wildflowers, which gives me yellow dye. And if I head on down here, that's a steep drop. If I head on down here though, I have a ton of sand somewhere. Right here, perfect. And I can turn this into glass. Back at home now, I have 12 green dye smelted up, and I just need probably 32 of both. Will definitely do. Back up here at the window, I want to punch out the old glass. And I think my goal is to give it like a flower shape. So I'm going to put a yellow one kind of in the middle there. And then I think I can go around with some yellow stained glass like that. And then connect it with some green stained glass here in the middle. And it'll kind of go around it like that, which I think looks good. Looking at it from a distance, I think it's looking pretty good. You can see some skylight behind it. Once there's an interior, I think it's going to blend in a little bit better. With the window in, all I have left to do is the roof, so I put in these taller gothic towers and created the dome-shaped roof at the top, and I think this part of the castle is my absolute favorite. It looks so good. And now we have this entire building in here. This is probably my favorite part of the entire castle. Except the inside. The inside, not looking good. Not good. Coming up here, though, I absolutely love this part of the castle, like I just said. I think it's just so cool here. It's like kind of like the church part of the castle. I used to not like building these kind of rounded shaped roofs and I guess structures, but now recently I've really enjoyed building them because you can get a nice shape out of building these kind of rounded out roofs and stuff. So now that the left side of the castle isn't a sore thumb anymore, we're going to the back of the castle where it definitely is. So now I'm getting started on the final building phase of the project, which is going to be the castle throne room. This area was based very much off of the throne room from the Red Keep in King's Landing, as I wanted to give it those same supports on the side and give it the same shape, as I thought it would absolutely fit here along the back side of the castle. With the throne room done, all I have left to do now to finish the build was the final grand tower, and I had the bright idea of using the Habigast to assist me in this, which honestly turned out to be a pretty big pain, as you could imagine, but I do think this guy offered a lot of help as well. Especially without an elytra, I do think he was an overall positive in the build process. With that being said, my overall take on this guy is he's kind of nice. And I'm gonna place the last block right there, which is the chain. In fact, let me add a little bit more height to this guy. There we go. This tower, though, is not finished. You see, it's very bare, very plain. And that is because I want to get the interior completely finished before I actually work on this. And this is one of the parts of the build that I have planned out the least. So I'm going to wait before adding any windows or details to it. So it's going to look a little bit weird for now, but that's intentional. That, honestly, I think the tower took a little bit longer because of the Habigast, but honestly, there were some things about it that made it just a little bit more convenient, I guess, like being able to fly up and down. So this little guy, honestly, might be something that I use in the future, though. The only thing is, whenever they are unleaded and stuff, They fly away so high up in the air. He's honestly kind of annoying. He has a mind of his own, and I don't like that. I like my Minecraft mobs to be brainless. I don't like them living their own lives. Anyways, enough with the torture. I'm going to do a quick walkthrough of the castle, though, now that it's completely done. You come over here, though, and there's this watch kind of guard tower, and I'm going to put some things in here, maybe some guards or something to symbolize that this is where the guards are. And obviously you have the garden up here, which is not completely finished, but there is the garden. Coming up here, though, up these stairs, you are meted with the gate, which I think is absolutely amazing. And then you are greeted with the entrance of the castle, which, again, I love this area right here. I think it's very, very nice. I think with the castle, I want to start putting some foliage everywhere. I think that's going to be the next part, the next step. But I think I'm going to do that when I get onto the interior, which is going to be a big project on its own. Going up this staircase, though, there is this section right here, which I've already shown, which is just a little hangout spot, a nice little area for guards. I might redecorate that, I'm not too sure. Up here, going up the stairs even more, you have this area, which I do want to leave as a garden, kind of a lounging area, because I think it's wide enough to where it actually works. And then there's obviously the lookout tower that I've mentioned before. I absolutely love this area right here. If I go down back to this level, which would be right here, you have this area right here as an overhang, and I absolutely love this addition as you go up here and then you walk into where the council chamber will end up being, which again is through here and will be down here somewhere. There's going to be a staircase that goes down into actually this area. Other than that, I don't really have too much planned, but this is going to be a project that I'm going to be working on for a long time, and I have a lot of plans for, and a lot of string to place, because there's a lot of snow to get rid of. With that being said, there is only one thing that I want to do left in this episode, and that is to show off the castle with some shaders on, and there will definitely be a few spoilers with the interior, as I have a lot of plans for the future of this project. With that being said, though, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.